Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another video. It is the game review to Everton's goalless draw 0-0 against Aston Villa at Villa Park last night. Usually we do these reviews as a live stream, however I've got a bit of a busy day on today as you're watching this, recording it currently on Thursday night after the game, and obviously we play again on Sunday, so we've got to do the preview to the Sheffield United game on Saturday afternoon. So it's all a little bit up in the air at the moment. Everton proven today that we can't play twice in 3 days. We just haven't got the squad for it, we just haven't got the fitness for it, and we're going again on Sunday against the team in Sheffield United. They were coming to Goodison Park, already relegated, and we know what that means, don't we? Writings on the wall for that one. But no, we're here to talk about the Aston Villa result, of course, and the Aston Villa game. A 0-0 draw, very frustrating performance, very lackadaisical, lethargic, slow Everton performance, and the type of performance which basically says to me that this Everton team and this Everton squad isn't ready for European football. I'm not going to sit here and say we won't finish in Europe. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I think the season's over now, because if we go and beat Sheffield United on Sunday, I'll probably be sitting here on Monday morning saying, yeah, brilliant, great, you know, we still could finish in Europe, and we can mathematically. But if tonight or last night as you're watching this showed us anything, it was that we just haven't got the squad to play in Europe, because we played on Sunday and we played really, really well. We were fast, we were dynamic, we were quick, we were physical. We got, into West Ham, we battled with them, we frustrated them, we hit them on the counter-attack, we took our opportunity. Whereas today we showed that, only a couple of days later, when you're playing with this pretty much the same team, barring a couple of changes, and one of those changes was forced through injury. These players just simply can't do that. Alan looked a shadow of what he looked on Sunday last night. He was, being run riot in that midfield in the first half. He was absolutely everywhere. He got done about 3 or 4 times, settled in a little bit in the second half, but it still wasn't his greatest performance, and that's because Alan's a 29-year-old midfielder who shouldn't be playing twice in the space of 3 or 4 days. He shouldn't be. He should be able to have somebody else that comes in and takes Alan's place and can do that role. And maybe Tom Davies should have done that last night. I'm not sure, but obviously, Carlo Ancelotti put Abdoulaye Doucouré back in from the start. It was great to see him return, but again, very, very evident that he isn't ready. He's not 100% fit. He's not match fit. He's not. He's not match sharp, and you could see that yesterday. We had Seamus Coleman in there, who shouldn't be playing twice in the space of 3 or 4 days. It was just a really, like I said, lethargic and overall quite a poor Everton performance, wasn't it? Let's be perfectly honest with ourselves. It was very, very disappointing. We were much the better team in the second half, and we had chances in the second half. Don't get me wrong, we had many a chance to go on and win that game, but we were just lacking that cutting edge. We were just lacking that quality. We were lacking that magic really in the second half, and we needed somebody like a James Rodriguez, if only he was fit, to to step in and change that game. And we simply didn't have that. It wasn't the greatest game of football whatsoever. It really, really wasn't. Aston Villa didn't really threaten us. I don't think we had a difficult night whatsoever defensively. I think the entire back line done well. Michael Keane had a solid game. I think Mason Holgate, barring a couple of misplaced passes, had a decent game. Ben Godfrey was very good as always. Luca Dean played really, really well, but I just think Carlo got the setup wrong. I think Carlo got the substitutions wrong, and ultimately I just, again, said it in the instant match reaction last night. How many times are we going to sit here and talk about this group of players as, oh, they don't care, they don't want to play in Europe, they're not fighting because they're not interested? Maybe they're just not good enough. Maybe they're just not fit enough. Maybe they just haven't got that quality that you need to be a team that, finishes in a European position. And don't get me wrong, Everton could very well still finish in a European position come the end of the season. And if we do, it'll almost be a miracle, really, because the amount of games in which we've dropped points in this season, the amount of, games at Goodison Park in which we've lost to teams that we should be beating, the amount of points even, on the road that we've dropped to teams, again, like Villa today, Newcastle away from home, but our away form has kept us in this fight. It has 11 away wins, the second best away record in the Premier League. It's been our home form that's really sort of put a downer on the season, but we still could finish in a European position come next season, and that's great, and it is, and that's all well and good, and it's brilliant, and I'll be sitting here absolutely made up if Everton finish in the Europa League next season, even the Europa Conference League. Some people don't like it, but we're not really a club in a position to turn our noses away at the Europa Conference League or the European Conference League, because ultimately, you know, that's a European competition. It's a chance for us to get into Europe, and it's, like I said, we're not a European giant. We're not guaranteed European football every year, so we can't really look at the new Conference League and think, yeah, we don't want that, we'll turn our nose at that. We haven't been in Europe for 4 or 5 years. But the reality of the situation is, like I said, if last night showed us anything, we can finish in Europe come the end of the season. That'll be brilliant, and we might still do that. You know, Tottenham might still drop points. We seen Liverpool last night go out and absolutely thump Manchester United. We'd have gone above Liverpool if we'd have beaten Aston Villa before they even played Manchester United. That would have been something that played on their mind going into that game. But we played on a Thursday. Last night was a Thursday. We beat West Ham United on a Sunday. We performed so well against West Ham United on Sunday, and yet we were so lethargic and slow and just no energy and no real quality yesterday. It's the same group of players, and that same group of players has showed that they can't play twice in 1 week. They can't do it. There's not enough quality. There's not enough energy. There's not enough. We just haven't got the squad to do it. We simply haven't got this squad isn't good enough to play in Europe. And don't get me wrong, we need heavy investments in the summer. Of course we do. We need massive amounts of investment, and I think we'll invest either way, whether we finish in Europe or we don't finish in a European position, or we don't. We'll invest heavily in the summer anyway, because we absolutely have to. But the reality of the situation is, this current squad would go into a European competition next season. Would they win it? No, they wouldn't, because they're not good enough to win it. They're really not. Would they get far in it? Potentially, but if they did, our league form would take a massive knock, because we've shown today we can't keep up with 2 games in the space of a couple of days, and that's what it is when you're playing in the Europa League. I just want to say as well, before we go any further on, I apologise that this isn't a live stream. Obviously, like I mentioned, we've got loads of different things going on. We play again on Sunday against Sheffield United, which I'm not necessarily looking forward to. We will be live on Saturday afternoon with the preview to the Sheffield United game, but I wanted to get a review out before Saturday, because I understand this game will be out of everybody's mind by then, and unfortunately I can't do a live stream tomorrow, so I thought we'd sit down and we'd just do it in video format instead. I haven't done a video review in a while, but anyway, let's get into the game a little bit. Like I said, Everton started sort of slow. We started lackadaisical. It wasn't a great game of football, let's be honest. The first half wasn't a great first half of football whatsoever. Aston Villa, you know, again themselves didn't have an awful lot. You know, I think they had the first chance of the game. It broke to Bertrand Traoré. They played the ball well down that left hand side. They found it. They got into a decent area, and Bertrand Traoré managed to get a shot off, and he hit it straight into Jordan Pickford, who saved it comfortably, to be fair. But before we go into further talking about the game, I want to talk about the setup that Carlo Ancelotti decided to go with, because I seen the team news at obviously 5 o'clock, as we all did, and I thought, you know what, I'm quite happy with that team. I'm quite happy with the 11 players that Carlo Ancelotti has chosen there. I wasn't too pleased with the fact Tom Davies had dropped out, because I think Tom Davies was one of our best players on Sunday against West Ham United, and I think it was very harsh to take him out the team. But I understood Abdoulaye Doucouré coming back in. I understand that Abdoulaye Doucouré needs to play some games. He needs to get back up to match fitness. He needs to get back up to you know, match sharpness for the remaining couple of games of the season. Personally, I'd have taken Gylfi Sigurdsson out and played played Doucouré, Allan and Davies, but he didn't. But then we lined up and we started the game, and it was very clear that what we all thought, well, certainly I did, and I think a lot of Evertonians thought, would have been a 5 at the back, with Luca Dean at left wing back pushing up, Seamus Coleman right wing back pushing up, and then Beg Godfrey left centre back fitting in that left back when he needs to, and Mason Olgate doing the same. It wasn't that whatsoever. It was more of a 4-4-2 from the start. It did change a couple of times during the game, but it looked from the off like a 4-4-2, and in that, it was Seamus Coleman at right midfield, who within the opening 15 minutes showed that he can't cross a ball, or he certainly couldn't cross a ball last night. and Gylfi Sigurdsson on the left of midfield, which honestly gives me nightmares. And that's not because I don't like Gylfi Sigurdsson or I don't think he's a good footballer, but he's not a left midfielder. If we'd have set up with Alex Iwobi in goal, it would have given me nightmares. And again, it's a bad example. If we'd have set up with James Rodriguez in goal, it would have given me nightmares, not because he's a bad footballer, but because he's not a goalkeeper. Gylfi Sigurdsson isn't a left midfielder. So as soon as I seen that it was a flat back four, I wasn't massively worried about the back four, and rightly so. They didn't do anything wrong really last night. Mason Holgate, to be fair to him, had a decent game. Ben Godfrey was very solid for the majority of the game. Michael Keane in the centre was solid as well. And then obviously you had Luca Dean at the left, on the left hand side, who was good. Aston Villa didn't really have much, to be fair, in the entire game, but the defence done what they needed to do, and they done it really, really well. It was more that midfield. We all sat down a couple of days ago before this game and said, you know, if Everton had to have anything going forward between now and the end of the season, we sort of have to bite the bullet with formations and continue to play this 5 at the back formation. Because listen, I don't particularly like it. I'm not a massive fan of the 5 at the back formation. If you watch this channel, you'll know that I've openly said on a number of occasions I don't particularly like the formation. But the reality of the situation is it's the only formation that allows us any width whatsoever, because it allows Seamus Coleman to get down that right hand side, and it allows Luca Dean to get down that left hand side. When we haven't got that formation, when we don't play that formation, when we don't play a 5 at the back, all that ends up happening is Luca Dean and Seamus Coleman, typically this time it was Luca Dean and Mason Holgate at right back, of course, don't get up the pitch that much, because they know there's nobody to cover them behind them. Like Luca Dean showed it perfectly the last time out against Aston Villa. He made a busting run down that left hand side. He looks over his shoulder, the ball's already been intercepted and nobody slotted in at left back, and Bertrand Traoré had the chance to make it. I think it would have been 2-0 at that time, or 2-1 at that time, and he fluffed his lines. And B, we've got no wingers. We've got no other wide players. It's Everton Football Club at the moment, and it's mad to say this considering how much money we've spent, and the fact that I didn't identify this position as a key area in the summer of last season. Everton Football Club have not got a winger. We have not got any wingers. James Rodriguez isn't a winger. He's played there at times this season, great, but he's not a winger. Gylfi Sigurdsson is certainly not a winger. Alex Iwobi is not a winger. Bernard is probably not a winger, and he doesn't even play anyway. Josh King is not a winger, so we can't play with a formation that demands a left back, a right back, and a left midfield and a right midfield. Richarlison isn't a winger. Even though he's played left midfield, he clearly sees himself as a striker. So why in which we set up with a formation that meant that we had to play a right midfielder and a left midfielder baffled me a bit. It absolutely baffled me, because Seamus Coleman isn't a right midfielder. Whether we like, again, like I said before, 2-3 chances in the opening 10 or 15 minutes to cross the ball in, and they were dreadful. The crosses were awful. And Gylfi Sigurdsson has got no pace and no mobility, so how can he play on the wing? It's impossible, and I do feel for both players, because both had an absolute nightmare last night. They did, but I feel for Gylfi Sigurdsson. If Gylfi Sigurdsson's on that pitch in an Everton shirt, he should be behind the striker, or as a split striker at the at a push. Any other position in the pitch, if you want to play Gylfi Sigurdsson as a left midfielder, he shouldn't be on the pitch. Want to play him as a right midfielder, he's not your man. Want to play him as a regular central midfielder, he's not your man. Play to his strengths, play him as a number 10, play him behind the striker, play him as a split striker, or a, coming off the striker, whatever you want to call it. Don't play him as a left midfielder. He's got no pace, he's got no energy, he's got no agency, and what do we expect? It was a bad decision for me by Carlo Ancelotti. It really, really was. I think if you'd have gone with a flat 5 at the back and had Michael Keane in the centre of the defence, with Ben Godfrey on the left hand side, Mason Holgate on the right hand side, Seamus Coleman as a right wing back and Luca Dean as a left wing back, I think we'd have created a lot more, certainly in that first half. But like I said, not much happened whatsoever. You could see from the off that the midfield was slow. you could tell from the off that Abdoulaye Doucouré was coming back from a major injury, and I'm not going to sit here and go in on Abdoulaye Doucouré because I do feel sorry for him, to be honest with you, because, you know, again, he is, like I said, he's coming back from what is quite a significant injury, and he was never going to be up to pace. He's not the greatest passer of the ball anyway, into which he showed yesterday, but he was never going to be up to the pace. So I'm not going to sit here and have a massive go at Abdoulaye Doucouré because ultimately, you know, he's only just returning from injury. But Alan, you know, was a polar opposite to the Alan that we saw on Sunday. He was just being found out of position, being you know, turned far too easily. Don't get me wrong. Hang on, the video's frozen a little bit. Let's wait for it to try and kick itself back up again. If you can still hear me, we'll be back live in a moment. Give me 2 seconds. Just wait for the old OBS to sort itself out. Can always count on it. Can always count on it, can't you? Come on. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Here we go. We're back. I don't know if you were with us for that point, but my computer decided to just absolutely stop working. But yeah, like I said, Alam a couple of times in that first half certainly was just done for pace, done for energy, done for, you know, again, mobility really. And I don't particularly blame Alan for that. I don't think Alan should be playing twice in 1 week, to be honest with you. I think ideally you'd have somebody else, maybe somebody like Tom Davies that could sit in there and do that job. Again, why Tom Davies didn't even come on, never mind start, is beyond me. Gylfi Sigurdsson was non-existent for the entirety of the game, certainly the first half. Richarlison was trying to make stuff happen. He was trying to get the ball. He was trying to get into the right areas. He had a shot, a couple of shots, I think, that he just dragged wide. But again, nothing really solid coming from Richarlison. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was trying to push himself into the right areas and trying to make things happen, but he couldn't. And ultimately, it was a very boring first half of football. Some would say it was you know, compact. Some would say it was organised. I've seen that word thrown about a lot on Twitter, and it was organised because defensively we were very solid. Aston Villa didn't have anything whatsoever in that first half, to be honest with you. They had one chance, one scary moment, should we call it, where Tyrone Mings gets on the end of a cross into the box, manages to get on the end of it with a header, and if we're being completely honest, Tyrone Mings should guide it goalward, to be honest with you. It's an absolute sitter. Maybe a bit of karma, considering he shouldn't have even been on the pitch later on in the game, but you know, whatever, that is what it is. He guides his header wide and Everton get away with one, but other than that, there wasn't any real clear opportunities in that first half. Like I said, we found ourselves in some decent areas, whether it be Seamus Coleman on the right, whether it be Luca Dean on the left, and every time the ball in was just too high or too long, or, you know, I think what we were doing an awful lot of, which baffled me really, is playing these, you know, soft-weighted sort of floated balls into the box when Emi Martinez in goal is about 17 foot. Why we're playing floated crosses into the box when their goalkeeper is always going to come out of a field. If you were going to play the ball in the air, it had to be fast, it had to be whipped, it had to be thrown in with energy, it had to be thrown in with pace, enough pace to the fact that if somebody gets on the end of it and it's going goalwards, it's going to be very difficult to save. Or play it on the floor, play it on, you know, to people's feet, play it in the box, you sort of low. The fact that we kept floating the ball, whether it be Seamus Coleman, Luca Dean done it a couple of times, only a couple of times, but basically trying to chip the ball into the box. And I get Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a massive aerial threat, I understand that, and I get that more often than not he'll get his head on the end of it and he'll get a little bit of power on it, and that's fine. But when you're chipping a ball up into an area where there's a goalkeeper who is well over 6'4", 6'5", he's always going to come out and collect that comfortably. He had no issue with collecting most of our crosses. And yet, like I said, we go in at half time and there's not, you know, nothing much has happened. We've had one scary moment with Tyrone Mings. We haven't really created anything ourselves. Richarlison's had the odd half chance. There was a couple of times, I think, where Richarlison was fed in. Gylfi Sigurdsson fed him in on one occasion. I think Dom fed him in on another occasion, and he just couldn't sort his feet out. Again, it was another It was another one of those games by Richarlison, wasn't it, where you can see the efforts there, the wants there, the sort of, the work rate is there, but the technical ability just wasn't there for Richie yesterday. He really, really struggled to get the ball under his feet. He really struggled to get control of it. He was dragging his shots wide. He was running into the opposition players, and a big frustration by Richarlison. It really, really was. And ultimately I think Richarlison's season has been a big frustration, hasn't it? Let's be honest with you, this performance wasn't anything of a surprise for Richie. Again, what can we do? I do feel slightly sorry for him, I suppose, but ultimately it wasn't good enough. And like I said, we go in at half time and everyone's convinced it's an organised performance, just come out and add a little bit more quality. But from what I saw in that first half was an Everton team still being outrun in the midfield, still being outworked, still being outbattled. Yes, Aston Villa hadn't gotten forward and created much because, again, they didn't have an awful lot of quality, did they? Let's be honest. They had Jack Grealish on the bench, who Sky Sports were absolutely crying to come on and win the game. They were crying it in. And, the players that were on the pitch, like I said, other than that chance for Tyrone Mings in the first half, nothing was really created. Everton didn't really create a clear-cut chance. Villa didn't. Both defences had a comfortable enough first half, and you're sort of thinking, have Everton got enough to go out and win this game? Have Everton got that bit of magic? Have Everton got that bit of quality? And the reality of the situation is, with this Everton team, is more often than not, when James Rodriguez isn't in there, when James Rodriguez isn't on that pitch, we don't have the quality, we don't have that bit of magic, we don't have that one player who, and this is an issue that I've had with Everton for years, absolutely years and years and years. You will never, ever, ever go a Premier League season where you win. Let's say any title winning team, pick any title winning team of the last decade. There'll have never been. There'll be teams that have dominated. Manchester City dominated and won the majority of their games a couple of years ago, ended up with 100 points. But there will never ever, ever be a Premier League team that win the league and perform unbelievably well in every single game. Certainly not in the last 10 years, to my recollection. There's not been a team that turn up every game and win 3, 4, 5, 6-0 in every single game. You have games where sometimes it's difficult, it's tough, you haven't played very well, it's looking like it's going to be a 0-0 or it's looking like it's going to be a 1-1, and then in the last 5 or 10 minutes, your star man, your magician pops up with that bit of magic that wins you that game. And they're the games at the end of the season that you look back on and you go, we didn't play really well there, but we won. We weren't great in that game, but we won. Do you know what? Looking at that game, in hindsight, we were very, we got away with one there because we were awful, but we won because he popped up with the winning goal, or he popped up with that bit of quality. It's one way or the other with Everton. Either we create chances and Dominic Calvert-Lewin puts them in the back of the net, or Richarlison, even though he hasn't done that much this season, or we create chances and nobody puts them in the back of the net. And I know that sounds silly to say, but what I'm saying is Everton had 3, 4, 5 good chances last night to score, and I honestly think we could still be playing now and we wouldn't have scored. We could still be playing. We could have played extra time there and we wouldn't have scored. We could be playing, like I said, now, tomorrow, and we still wouldn't have scored, because no matter how much we created for ourselves, we didn't have the quality, we didn't have the composure in the final third. But anyway, we come out in the second half and we know something's got to change. We know we've got to improve. We know we've got to step the foot on the pedal a little bit. And we do, to be fair. We were the better team in the second half. We were, and look, it really stands for nothing in the grand scheme of things, doesn't it? Because ultimately we still haven't won the game. So being the better team in a 0-0 draw is, is like, I don't know, it's like losing a football game 45-1, but being the goal scorer of the one goal. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, does it? But we created the more chances in the second half. We did. We started to come forward a little bit. Like I said, Alan settled into the game a little bit more. Abdoulaye Doucouré settled into the game a little bit more. Gomez come on for Sigurdsson. And we started to create a couple of chances. Richarlison, like I said, had one. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had the header. Andre Gomez has a couple as well. But before we talk about them, I want to talk about... I just want to talk about the midfield again, because we were being massively overrun in that first half, and it was very clear that it wasn't working, and it was very clear that we needed the change. It was very clear that Alan wasn't really on his game. He didn't look really fit, to be honest with you. It was clear that that Doucouré wasn't really fit as well. But the biggest frustration with me is that how many times we gave the ball away. We just kept giving the ball away. Not only were we lacking in quality in the final third, and we were lacking in quality in the in the opposition box. Every time we had the ball, every pass was short. Every pass was, if a player got to it, they barely got to it. And it's simple 5-10 yard passes. I lost count of how many passes Seamus Coleman had to make that he didn't make, or Sigurdsson had to make that he didn't make. And you're just sitting there sort of scratching your head thinking these are simple 5-10 yard balls and you're not making them. We're meant to be a team challenging for Europe and you can't make simple 5-10 yard passes. It's really, really, really frustrating. And it sort of just added to, some people maybe see this Everton team as not wanting to finish in Europe, or not, this team isn't ambitious enough, this team doesn't want to play in Europe. Is it that, or is this team just not good enough? Have they just not got the quality? Are they just not capable of performing at that high level, week in, week out, game in, game out? Are we good enough to do that? On our day, we could beat anybody. On our day, we've got a very good squad, we've got a very good team, but the reality of the situation is, it's been the problem with Everton all season. We're just simply not consistent enough. We're not consistent enough whatsoever. And that's why, when I say this, and I mean this, and I'm honest when I say this, finish in Europe or don't finish in Europe, I'm not particularly that interested, to be honest with you, at the moment. And the reason why I'm not interested that much at the moment is because I honestly think whether we finish in Europe or we don't finish in Europe, I don't see us having a decent run in Europe, to be fair. I don't see us maintaining any decent form in the Premier League if we finish in Europe. In that case, then what's the point, really? If we're going to get knocked out in the group stage and then finish 7th again in the Premier League, then we may as well just finish 7th in the Premier League. Or if we're going to get knocked out in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then finish 11th and 12th in the Premier League, or 12th in the Premier League, what's the point in that? Because this team, quality-wise, hasn't got enough quality to win a European competition, and it's certainly not got enough quality and energy to compete in both Europe and the domestic league. Now, I know we're going to go out and we're going to invest heavy in the summer, and that's all well and good, that's fine, that's great, that's fine and dandy, but it makes it really difficult for me to be like, yeah, I can't wait. If we finish in Europe, we're going to be boss next season, because until I see these signings, until I see these top quality players through the door, the right players coming in the door, then I'm really not confident. Because again, we showed tonight we just didn't have that quality, like I said, giving the ball away constantly. And another thing that was massively frustrating me is Villa were making mistakes. Villa were losing the ball, Villa were sliding all over the place, Villa were falling over, they were giving the ball away, they were struggling to play out from the back. And why can't Everton just make a team pay for their mistakes? Why every time a player I said this in the instant match reaction yesterday, a player can literally make a mistake, fall on his arse, lose the ball, get up on one knee, pull his socks up, tie both shoelaces, make sure his hair's alright, stand back up, and he'll still have the ball. We don't make teams pay for mistakes. Look at what Aston Villa done to us 2 weeks ago at Goodison Park. Ollie Watkins, he got involved with Mason Holgate. He looked at him, he gave him a little bit of a bump, and he thought, right, he's not really confident on the ball here. He's susceptible to making a mistake. 2 minutes later, he's straight back into him. He forces him into making a mistake, and he goes and he scores. We don't do that. Everton don't do that. We don't make teams pay for the mistakes. And I don't know whether it's because we're too slow. I don't know whether it's because the players aren't intelligent enough. I don't know whether it's because we're not good enough. Or I genuinely don't know whether it's because we sort of, again, are we just that nice of a team that when a player falls over, we sort of go, oh, we'll let him get back up because that's not really fair because he's fallen over. I can't believe that. I can't believe that that's the case. I just don't think that these players are quick enough to think, right, he's gone on his ass there, so I'm going to attack that. I'm going to get onto that. It's like a snail's pace. It's like, oh, has he made a mistake? Has he tripped over, or has he slid, or has he... Oh, and then by the time they've gone, oh yeah, I'll go for that ball actually because I might be able to create something here. The player's already got up and moved on. I've never ever known a side that let opposition teams get away with as many slips on the floor and misplaced passes and just silly general mistakes as that Everton do. We let teams get away with it every single week. We don't We simply do not take advantage of teams, punish teams for making silly errors, and teams do it to Everton all the time, and yet we don't do it to anybody else. And it's so frustrating, because ultimately at the end of the day, we need to start making teams pay for those mistakes we do, because we've clearly shown today again that sometimes we just don't have enough quality to go and win games of football, and sometimes you need a mistake. And don't get me wrong, Villa didn't. I'm not talking about a specific mistake. I'm not saying they made a specific mistake that, you know, oh my god, we should have took advantage of. But there was a couple of slips there. There was a couple of misplaced passes. There was a couple of times where Villa players didn't seem, you know, that comfortable on the ball, and we just sort of allowed them to, you know, sort themselves out, and then we then decided to go at them. Why? Like I said, anyway, it was a much better second half. We started to create a couple of chances. We were getting forward instantly within the first couple of minutes. You know, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets into a good area, as does Richarlison, and we end up forcing, I think, Martinez into making a save. A couple of minutes later, you have another chance. I think this time it's Richarlison who just couldn't get the shot away in time. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had one where he's offside, where it falls to him in the box and he takes the strike, and Martinez makes a good save, but he ends up being offside. And all of a sudden, instantly within the opening 5-10 minutes of the second half, you can see that Everton are really starting to push forward. And you know, maybe that's the sad thing, that we did look like we wanted to win it in the second half. We looked like we wanted to push forward, but we just didn't have enough quality to do that. And yeah, like I said, you know, we make a couple of substitutions. Gylfi Sigurdsson comes off, rightly so, wasn't good enough, you know, wasn't good enough whatsoever. Carlo brings Andre Gomez on. Don't know why. I'm not going to sit here and go into Andre Gomez. I'm not going to sit here and have a specific go at Andre Gomez, but I really don't see how and why Andre Gomez is coming on over Tom Davies, to be honest with you. But nevertheless, he come on. He adopted this different sort of role than what we've seen him in before, where he's sort of playing as an you know, he's playing as a number 10, if you like. We then, obviously, we brought Alex Iwobi on as well to add a little bit more up front, if you could say that. And that was it. And that was the sort of story of our night, and the story of our you know, our bench, is that we're looking at Andre Gomez and Alex Iwobi, two players who have notoriously let us down and let themselves down time and time again this season in terms of bad performances, and we're looking at those two players to come on and win a game of football for us in the last 10 or 15 minutes. It says something when you've got a striker in Josh King, who we brought in to give, you know, to provide competition to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and for you know, to be able to come in to give Dom a rest, and he's not even coming on with 10 minutes to go in a game that we desperately need to win, and he's a striker. You know, he's meant to be a goal-scoring striker, and Carlo Ancelotti hasn't even got faith to bring him on to try and look for a goal in 10 minutes. He brings on Andre Gomez, who scored 1 goal in 3 years, and Alex Iwobi, who's had a shocking season, and not a great time at Everton since he's been here, to be honest. But yeah, like I said, we bring those two on. We continue to try and get forward. Aston Villa at this point aren't in the game whatsoever. You know, in terms of offensively, they're not creating any chances. They're not doing. You know, they're not putting us in under any real pressure. We then sort of try to break the deadlock. Richarlison gets the ball. He plays a lovely ball into Andre Gomez. Andre Gomez knocks it back brilliantly, by the way. Give credit where credit's due. It's a fantastic touch inside by Andre Gomez. It's unfortunate that he just then lashes the ball into my backyard after it. And the most frustrating thing about this isn't the fact that Andre Gomez can't keep as cool and as calm and can't just guide that ball into the top corner or the bottom corner or just get a shot on target, to be honest. The more frustrating thing is the fact that Richarlison has stood, you know, with yards and yards and yards of pace, and he just, with yards and yards and yards of space, and he doesn't give it back to him. If Andre Gomez has a look up, and this is what I mean about players panicking, this is what I mean about players being composed. We're all quick and very, you know, good to jump on Dominic Calvert-Lewin for not being composed in front of goal and for not being confident and for not being calm, but everybody else is the same. All as Andre Gomez has to do there, after he plays that little turn, which is a great dummy, look up, he plays Richarlison in. We go 1-0 up, we win the game, and we're all sitting here saying it's brilliant by Gomez, it's absolutely fantastic. But he doesn't. Again, how many times do we see players get in that situation where they've got the ball on the edge of the box and they don't think, right, I'm going to look up and I'll see if there's a pass, and if not, I'll have a go, or this is where I'm going to do, I'm going to curl this into the top left, or I'm going to curl this into the top right, or I'm going to put this the bottom left of the keeper. They just get to that situation and go, shit, I've got to hit this because I'm in a good position now and I've just got to strike it, and they just panic. And that's what he done. He leaned back, he panicked, he lashed it over the bar. Richarlison was one-on-one with Martinez and probably would have scored. And yeah, you know, it goes over the bar, and it's another chance. A couple of minutes later, he has another one. I think it's Richarlison again. It might be Iwobi, actually. No, I'm pretty sure it's Richarlison again. Gets in a good area. Really, really good area. Plays the ball across the box perfectly, by the way. And this is why, again, we can be frustrated with Richarlison, and we can talk about the fact that he hasn't taken chances and he's lost the ball in the first half in good areas, but he's put two really good opportunities on a play for Andre Gomes there. The second one, again, I just think he worries too much about getting it on target rather than actually scoring. Gets it on target, it gets blocked, it goes out. Dominic Calvert-Lewin then has a chance a little bit later on in the game, where a corner comes in, or a ball comes in, sorry, from Luca Dean. He heads onto it. It just doesn't quite, you know, he doesn't quite get the power on it. It wasn't the greatest of crosses, to be fair. It wasn't put in with the most power. Gets on the end of it. Martinez makes the save. It falls to Alan, who tries to volley it, scuffs his volley, and then Richarlison just can't guide the follow-up header towards goal. And you know, at that point, you again, we're sort of sitting there thinking we're not going to score in this game now. It's just a matter of get the final 5 or 6 minutes out the way, because we're not going to score. And that's also when you started to see Martin Atkinson, who was the referee in this game, who shouldn't be refereeing in the Premier League because he's absolutely dross. But that's when you started to see Martin Atkinson, I think, get a little bit starstruck over the fact that Jack Grealish was on the pitch. I don't know why, because Jack Grealish is a very good footballer, don't get me wrong, but he's not this global superstar. And every decision then went Aston Villa's way. We'll talk about the VAR in a second. But yeah, every chance that Everton had, it was a half chance here, it was a half chance there, it was a scuffed opportunity. Abdoulaye Doucouré had one on the edge of the box where it falls to him, and it isn't even a chance. And I don't know if anybody else got onto this. You probably never, to be honest. You might be sitting there thinking, what was the Doucouré chance, Cam? But the ball fell to him on the edge of the box, and instead of by the way, the ball falls to him on the edge of the box, and the centre halves are nowhere near him, so he's got space in front of him, and he's also got the goal in front of him. But instead of moving into that space and taking a shot, or just taking a shot from that space, he passes it back off. And granted, okay, you know, it comes at him quick, and this, that, and the other, and he's only just coming back from injury, and I get that, and I get all of that, and all of that's fine. But if he just had a little bit more composure, if he just looked up, he'd have gone, actually, I can put my foot through this, and it might have ended up in the back of the net. We might have ended up winning that game. But yeah, let's talk about VAR then before we finish up. I want to talk about Sheffield United briefly as well. This isn't the preview, by the way. The preview will be live on Saturday, but I do want to briefly talk about the Sheffield United game. Tyrone Mings with arguably one of the worst challenges you'll see all season, and he wasn't even cautioned about it. Dominic Calvert-Lewin on the halfway line. Again, Dom, in the last sort of 15-20 minutes, had started to do what Dom does in the last 15-20 minutes, unfortunately, and that's drop into defensive positions and try and pick the ball up when really we don't need them there. We really need them to be, you know, further forward, you know, and getting on the end of balls rather than trying to create the chances. And Tyrone Mings goes studs up, knee high, gets none of the ball, and gets contact on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, that is the meta definition, the clear definition of serious foul play. If you look up serious foul play in the footballing rules, it will probably have a picture of that exact challenge. Not one bit of that challenge is a fair challenge. He's knee high, he studs up, his foot's like that, so he's going into him, and he makes contact with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's a sending off every single day of the week. Martin Atkinson didn't give it. No surprise. I think he had his money on Aston Villa, to be honest with you. I think he had his bet on Jack Grealish scoring a goal on his return. But more worryingly, VAR doesn't give it. In fact, even more worryingly, VAR doesn't even look at it for more than 10 seconds. It's not like VAR's looked at it for a couple of minutes and then Atkinson's gone over to the television and not given it. VAR just sort of wipes it away as if it's a perfectly fine challenge, when it's a blatant red card and one of the worst challenges you will see all season, bar none. Absolutely bar none. I had a bit of a rant in the instant match reaction about VAR, and I don't want to go too deep into it again, because it's nothing that hasn't already been said, not just by me but by various other people this season. But just scrap VAR at the end of the season. One of two things needs to happen. And if neither of these two things happen, then football's dead and football's done for. One of two things needs to happen. Scrap VAR, get rid of it, or bring in an independent board to manage it. Because the reason we have VAR is because the FA or the Premier League or whoever it was all come together and decided that these officials in this league need help. They aren't good enough at doing their job. They aren't competent enough to do their job on their own. So they need technical help to help them. So what do? We bring in this new technology which shows all different angles and all different, different ways of seeing the foul and different ways of seeing the challenge, etc., etc., slow motion and all of that sort of stuff. But then we put the same incompetent referees and officials who don't know how to do the job in front of the television screen watching it. It's like sitting there and saying, right, we're gonna get, we've got, I don't know, we need to build a house, so we're gonna get 10 farm pigs to build the house. Sound. These pigs can't build an house because they're pigs and they can't build an house. Oh yeah, it's sound. Right, well, we'll bring in some help. We'll bring in something that's going to help them. Okay, might bring in humans to help the pigs, might bring in some technology. No, we'll bring in cows instead. What's the point? What is the point? There's no point in VAR whilst you have the same incompetent officials that are officiating VAR as you do on the pitch. We've already come to the conclusion that these referees are not good enough to referee at this level, so they need help. So what do? You get them help from the same incompetent referees, from their peers that all can't do the job. What's the point? It's disgraceful. Get rid of it. Scrap it. It's a nonsense. Or bring in a board, bring in incompetent a third-party incompetent company that can referee this, that aren't involved in the Premier League, that aren't involved in the FA, just that come in and say, no, that's a foul, and give them the decision to make. By the way, none of this, the referee's final decision. No, most of the referees in this league are awful. They couldn't referee a Sunday league game, so take the decision out of their hand and go, no, you've got that wrong. By the letter of the law, that's a foul, end of story. That is a red card by everybody's. I said it in the instant match reaction. Aston Villa fans might be watching this. They might have watched the instant match reaction. There was a couple of Aston Villa fans in the comments of the last one. I like Aston Villa, good club. Nothing against them tonight. There's not one Aston Villa fan who could sit there and honestly tell me that that's not a straight red. Not one. And if you can, you don't understand football and you don't understand the rules of football. It's a disgusting challenge, and it's a red card all day long. And the fact he's got away with it is shocking. Absolutely shocking. And don't get me wrong, I fall in and out of love with football every single week, and most of the reason for that is being an Evertonian, to be honest with you. But things like this just make me think, what's the point anymore? What is the point? Is there a point in even watching football when you've got decisions like that are just completely being washed away and players are getting away with it? What's the point? Really, what is the point? Anyway, look, again, Martin Atkinson from that point on. To be fair, there was a moment where Jack Grealish had come on at this point, and I think, don't get me wrong, I'm not a body language or I'm not a, what's the word called? I can't read people's lips. I'm not a lip reader expert, whatever they're called. But I'm pretty sure I heard Jack Grealish call Martin Atkinson an effing see you next Tuesday. Now, I thought when I heard that and I seen him say that on the camera, he said something along them lines. Mightn't have been exactly that, but it was something along them lines. I thought, always right, get in. Maybe Martin Atkinson will go, do you know what? No, I'm not having that. So maybe I'll give Everton a couple of decisions now. But he didn't. He just absolutely shit his pants and give everything Aston Villa's way from then on, including that decision, because he was scared of Jack Grealish. What is that? What is happening here? What is happening? Anyway, like I said it before, I'll say it again. VAR, look, that was a challenge that happened in the centre of the park. It wasn't a challenge that happened in the penalty area. It should have been a red card, but let's be honest, it probably wouldn't have made any difference. Aston Villa could have played with 8 men and we wouldn't have won that game. So VAR isn't the reason why Everton haven't won the game. VAR isn't the reason why Everton have performed poorly, but it's just another example of a shocking referee that doesn't understand what he's doing and is sat behind the screen getting away with it, and a shocking referee on the field that doesn't know what he's doing as well. But yeah, like I said, after that point on, ironically, Luca Dean, a couple of minutes later, plays an excellent ball across the box, and Tyrone Mings actually makes a goal line clearance that ends up getting him injured. He then was allowed to stay on the pitch despite having treatments, which I didn't think was allowed, but there you go. But yeah, ironically, Tyrone Mings makes a goal line clearance a couple of minutes later when he shouldn't have been even on the pitch. But yeah, like I said, the game just sort of fades out from that point on. Everton don't really have any other chances. The only real chances we had in the game were the two Andre Gomez ones, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's header, and Richarlison had the odd, and he had a shot in the first half which was dragged wide. Other than that, just not good enough, and that's the story of this game for Everton ultimately. Not good enough, not quick enough, not fast enough, not enough quality, and that's my biggest worry. And to be honest, it's a worry going into Sheffield United on Sunday evening, because we can talk all we like about how Sheffield United aren't a good side, or how Sheffield United are already relegated and they haven't got much quality going forward, and defensively they're not great. But Aston Villa didn't really have much to do tonight defensively. They didn't. The keeper didn't make many great saves. They didn't make many defensive, other than that one from Andre Gomez. They didn't make many defensive challenges. Neither did our defence, to be fair. It was quite a boring game, but that's my big issue going into this game against Sheffield United on Sunday, is that doesn't matter how bad Sheffield United are, doesn't matter how they mightn't score or they mightn't get chances. If Everton can't put ours away, then we're not going to win the game. I don't think we'll concede on Sunday, I don't. But I can't honestly sit here and tell you that I'm confident that we'll score as well. Because every game at the moment, whether we win it, lose it, draw it, it's fine margins. It really, really is. It's, like I said, when was the last time we beat a team 2-0? When was the last time we beat a team 3-0? We're having chances in games, but we're not scoring them, or we're taking one. And listen, don't get me wrong, for us to have taken one chance today and come away with the win, that would have been absolutely excellent. It means we'd have won the game. Yeah, boss. But we didn't. And we haven't won the game. And ultimately, it's another disappointing draw. We needed 3 points today. Can we still finish in Europe? Yes, we can. Yeah, we can. If we go and beat Sheffield United, if we go and beat Wolves, if we get a point against City, then that's what? 8 points out of... 3-6. Yeah, 8 points out of 4 games. And, I think Tottenham will drop points. I think West Ham will probably drop points. Them lot, Liverpool, have just gone and beaten Manchester United, at Old Trafford comfortably and convincingly. By all accounts, didn't watch the game, but it seems like it was convincing. So, yeah. Look, ultimately, I don't know. We might finish in Europe, and if we do, brilliant, but we're not going to go anywhere in Europe with this current squad. So it's 6-7 players in the summer, whether we finish in Europe or not. And I don't just want us to go out and buy the likes, certain players that can come in and improve the squad. We put it this way, and me and Tom are going to sit down on Monday and talk about recruitment, by the way. We're going to talk about who we should sign and where we need to improve. But I don't want Everton to go out. Everton should be going out in the summer and signing players that start week in, week out. For us to be a successful team, don't go out and buy players that aren't as good as James Rodriguez, or aren't as good as, or aren't as important as Ben Godfrey, or aren't as important as Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but they're still decent, so they'll be backup. No, don't go out and buy backup players. Go out and buy players that are better than what we've got, and then what we've got, either step the game up and improve to keep the place, or they become backup. That's how you work it. You don't go out and buy backup players. You go out and buy players that are better than what we've got. And then if the players that we've currently got want to be in this team, they'll improve, they'll work hard, they'll battle. Otherwise, they become the backup. And that's the way we should do it. And hopefully we do it. But again, another disappointing draw, another frustrating performance, another frustrating result. But yeah, what more can we say? If you've enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Once again, I do apologise that it wasn't a live stream. I really do. But unfortunately, I just got a lot going on at the moment. And obviously, we play again on Sunday. We will be back on Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon with the game preview to that Sheffield United game. We'll be doing our predicted starting 11. We'll be talking about the game in more detail as well. That will be live on Saturday, probably around 2:30, 3 o'clock. So join us for that one. But yeah, just to finish, ultimately, not enough quality, not enough urgency, not enough intensity, but I'm not surprised, to be honest. I'm not surprised because, again, this team has shown that it can't play twice in the space of 3 or 4 days. players have shown that they're not fit enough to do that. There's not enough quality in the team to do that. Like I said, Seamus Coleman today, abysmal. Sigurdsson, abysmal. Alan, poor. Decore, just coming back from injury, but poor. You know, Dom and Richie worked hard, Huff and Puff, but not enough quality, not enough combinations between them. He spoke about how them two need to make a partnership, and they haven't made the partnership yet. So yeah, there you go. Look, it is what it is. I suppose we go again on Sunday. Big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, leave a like. Don't forget, by the way, we haven't been live, but if you leave your comments in the comment section, we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can as well. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. Don't forget to check out the Football News 365 app. Keeps you up to date with all your latest Everton news, scores, predictions, all of that good stuff. And yeah, on to Sunday now, I suppose. Just gotta put this one behind us and hopefully go and get the 3 points on Sunday. But big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.